Welcome to InnovateHer with Yaritza, the podcast that dives deep into the inspiring world of women of color in the edtech industry. It's raw and authentic. There is no format, right? The best kind of professional development and conversations are those that are unscripted. Welcome to InnovateHer episode 11. I'm your host, Yaritza, and today we have a woman that I've had the pleasure of working beside, partnering with, and of course, I admire her impact. Ella Gozie is the Director of Learning at FlipLearn Kids. She's reinventing classrooms and learning, family support, access across Nigeria with tech, VR, AR, coding, creative design, you name it. Ella, how are you doing, friend?
Hi, Yaritza. It's actually a pleasure being here with you. I'm super excited. And when you hit me up to say, you know what, I want you to be on this program, and I'm like, wow, what's Yaritza up to? Because you're always about one thing or the other. And I'm like, are you sure this is the right time for me to be here? But honestly, I'm deeply honored to be here with you. It's always a pleasure working side by side and getting to feel the pulse of the edtech community and via your lenses. So I'm fine, and thank you once again.
I appreciate you and thank you for joining us. But before I ask any questions, can you tell us who you are and what brought you to the work that you're doing now across Nigeria and beyond?
Okay, so like you rightly introduced me before, my name is Ella. I'm a mom of 3 kids. Being a mom makes you wear a lot of hats. So when my kids are teenagers now, and 3 of them. So when we first started in the early years, elementary, like you know what they said, you have 3 kids, but all of them don't go through the same path. So I had this son of mine. The classroom was more like a terrible experience. So one day my son comes back to say, Mom, I don't think I want to be in the classroom anymore. I want to throw in the towel because it's not working for me. And I was thinking, a working mom dropping my kids out, picking them up. I thought that was all you need to do because being a parent, you don't have any manual. I never
Right.
knew that I was going to get to a point where my son was going to tell me, I'm going to throw in the towel. I don't think it's working for me anymore. And I was really shocked because I couldn't understand that. So every time he goes off to school, going to school was actually not the best of them because he wasn't connecting. And this is someone that when he comes back home, when I'm supporting with homework, he finds it a lot easier. It's interesting. He's able to connect real life scenarios to his mathematical problems that he's solving, if it's his English or literacy. But whenever I throw him back to school, there's a disconnect. So when I realized that there was a disconnect, what I told myself was there's a method that is not working well. And I know teachers are bogged down with a whole lot of things. You know, you have a lot of kids coming to school. And sometimes teachers are really not equipped as much as possible to understand that there's a place of social emotional learning in the classroom. And because some days the kids come to school not because they want to learn, but they just want someone who's going to give them a hug because you never know what they've been through. So when I realized that missing link, because back home, it was easy for him. He's always inspired to do something. But whenever I put him in school, it's always like a blackout. So it made me to start searching deeper. And that was as far back as 2014. So what I did was to have an engagement with the school to say, you know what, I understand that being an educator is also not easy, but it's a teamwork thing because we need to do what we need to do at home to also support the kids in the classroom. So I divided a means whereby I started supporting just the same way they were teaching him, having the same instructional materials as him, using my own method, which involves technology to help him to understand, and then explaining to the teachers the steps that I've taken to see how that can bridge the gap. And we did this up until 2015, and I saw it was making an impact. And I told myself, why not see how you can expand this? I remember in one of the podcast session, I think it's with Jess. I think Jess Wesh was like, sometimes when things happen, I can't keep my mouth shut. I just want to tell everybody.
That's
And
true.
that was me. I knew that a lot of kids were struggling. Parents were also struggling, where you start off your kids from home and they're all fine and you drop them back into school. So it's like you've taken a fish out of the pond and you've dropped the fish on the bare ground and the fish can't swim anymore. So when I realized that this was solving a lot of problems for kids, that was how the FlipLearn Kids story came about. And if you notice, it's all about redefining learning in the classroom, because I was able to see this from the lens being a mom, and also from the lens of educators because I worked with their class teachers. So that was how we came about. And fast forward to where we have come to them today. I remember in 2016 when we first kicked off with one of the schools, Orange and Blue, we integrated technology because we know kids like things where they can communicate, get feedback, and, out of their curiosity. And I had this child as well who was coming from a lot of stress back home. Every time in the classroom, he was also disconnected. His grades were not looking well. As soon as we introduced our program, you could see that flash of hope, that happiness, the child becoming a child of once again. And I remember the testimonial the school owner wrote to us, which to date is still close to my heart, because I was so happy that via our platform, kids were able to understand themselves once again, the kids that they really are, and then making it easier for educators to realize that there's a place of emotional learning. You need to also understand yourself as an educator and understand your learner, because every day can't just become to learn. Sometimes you need to individualize, mix it up to be able to meet that child at the point where they are. So that's just the story of how we came to be.
Think you answered all of my questions. No, I'm kidding. This is actually my first time here where Flip Learn Kids came to be, but
Yeah.
it's no surprise. So I've known Ella probably about 4 or 5 years now, since I was with Flip. And honestly, if you're tuning into this episode, this is a woman who makes things happen. I can phone Ella through WhatsApp and say, hey, there's some teachers that need assistance, but it's going to be at 3 o'clock in the morning. And Ella's response is always, we're going to make it happen.
Yeah.
Let me see what I can do on this end. So when we talk about equity, when we talk about meeting students where they are, Ella is the definition of it, right? And I don't know why she started off by saying, you picked me and I don't know why you picked me. You are infectious, right? Her energy, but also the reality that she's going to do whatever it takes to ensure that a student is not only learning a skill, but they are having fun while they are doing it. And that takes me into a question about families, because she just told you all, and shared her experience with her son and how that led to Flip Learn Kids, but she also works with families. So, Ella, what specific barriers do you or do families and schools across Nigeria face when accessing tech tools and digital learning?
Okay. So here in Nigeria, a lot of the challenges that families face, number one is connectivity. So when the tech thing started, for us Africa, we are like, is this going to come? Because I remember then when I was speaking to school, pitching the learning management system during the COVID era, trying to make them understand that things have changed. We need to have that flexibility. So if a child is sick, you're not going to miss learning completely. You can still learn from the comfort of your home. And then most of the responses were like, I don't think we're going to get there. Just leave it for the developed countries. So when it comes to accessibility, working with families, number one top barrier is the connectivity. Second greatest barrier is access to devices. So you find a family that have three siblings. People take turns to be able to use those devices. So that becomes more like a showstopper sometimes when you want to have all the three kids at the same time. And then one of the major barrier as well, I don't know how to put this, but really is a case of knowledge on how to support learners. Because most times parents really do love their kids having access to technology and learning new skills, but they don't know how to support that. And for me, support is not just about providing the device. Support is also ensuring that there's a digital safety leg to what your kids are doing. So you need to be present. So it's not just sitting there saying, I've given them devices. No, it's being there, being intentional to also ensure that learning is what it was for. Because I remember in one of our events, if you remember, Rita, where we're talking to a community of entrepreneurs. You remember when you were talking about AI and people
Yeah.
were asking themselves, to what extent do we keep ourselves protected from AI? And you also mentioned the fact that even in your house, you have your Alexa, you have Siri, you have different things, and they pick what you say. So imagine as adults, if adults are struggling with the fact that they need to also manage what goes out there in the media, how much more kids and how much more being a parent. So this for me is also a major barrier when I talk about technology, when I work with families and things that I try to make them understand that are the critical success factors when it comes to empowering your learner because they are still kids. Just the same way you're protecting them in the physical space, you also need to do that in the virtual space. So these are tough for me when it comes to equity, access, and barriers.
Oh, thank you. And those are some challenges and barriers that students, especially families of color, are experiencing around the world, right? It's not just in Nigeria, it's not just here in the United States. I just came
Interesting.
back from New Zealand. The Maori people are dealing with the same exact thing. And so we have, as educators and as leaders in education, especially in ed tech, have to really reflect on how are we going to, put the infrastructure or design the infrastructure that's going to give our family device access, but also access to digital skills. Because even if I don't have a device at home, I would love to learn more about how do I make this useful, especially in the
Exactly.
workplace. And that's one of the questions that parents, especially here in the United States, always ask is, okay, you taught me this was fun, but how do I use it for myself? Right? Because like you said, it has to be relevant. And for parents,
Yeah.
we want to use AI at work. We want to make sure that it's going to help with a task that I no longer have to be stressed
Yeah.
out about it, but to learn how to do it safely is what's most important. I'm going to, before I even ask you questions about FlipLearn Kids, because I'm going to ask some more questions about just how creative you are with the coding experiences and digital design, I want to dig a little deeper because you are a woman of color in tech. How has that been, especially in Nigeria? Like, I know when I started out in tech and I was in communication with people in Nigeria, it was mostly men who were presented and men whose voices were elevated. And so I was introduced to a lot of men in Nigeria who are tech focused or who have tech academies that will reach out. But when I met Ella, we instantly clicked. Like I knew this was a person that I wanted to partner with, and we've been partnering ever since. But Ella, how has it been as a woman of color in tech in Nigeria, but also a person that you're global facing?
So good question. Honestly, I know that there's been this focus to support a lot of women focused on businesses, women led businesses. But the truth of the matter is when you do the math, when you do the number, men still ranks pretty high. So it's just that you're not able to pin it so much in edtech because when you talk about tech, especially in Nigeria, people are looking from the lens of health tech and fintech before you start looking at then when you come to edtech, people will generally tell you, oh, there are a lot of teachers and they are female. But the truth of the matter is when you talk about edtech, you're focusing on edtech from the point of women-led edtech businesses, women-led edtech organizations, and the number is still pretty few, like you rightly said. So currently, for you to actually make your mark, you need to do twice as much as the work because you have a guy who's already done it, who is still there, keeping the front super firm and you're trying to justify the fact that you can do this, right? You have the skills. I remember one of the events that we ran this year, and when we were doing a debrief and a review with the organization. Do you know what they told me? They're like, "This is the very best of what we've done so far. In fact, the learning platform you deployed for this skill up program was one of the most amazing, game changing innovation." And I'm like, wait a minute. A few months before we started, the feedback was, oh, we actually had some other businesses who could have done it better than yourself. And I'm like, when I checked, yes, they were men led businesses. They felt that those men led businesses could do a lot more. But along the line, they realized that the taste of the pudding is in the eating. People can come with a proposal, they can come with flyers, but you have made your mark because beyond the fact that I'm an entrepreneur, I run a business, I have kids. before I deploy anything, I've actually walked through that process, through that path, with my kids, and I know what it's like before I'm throwing it out. So I'm not just throwing it out just because I want to make money. I'm throwing it out because I want to make an impact. So when they give us this feedback to say, you know what, this is the best ever, it showed us that you really have that edge when it comes to tech. And I was, oh my goodness, thank God it finally came from them, because here I was struggling. I'm trying to make people see that this is us. And when it comes to FlipLearn Kids, we also have, in terms of the way the organization runs, we have 60% women in majority of what we're doing. Not to say we don't like the men in our midst, no, but it's just to also make people realize that women in STEM, we can do it. Just give us that opportunity, allow us to be who we are, and just listen, not sure what we're doing, and see us skill ultimately. So, but the interesting thing is, with organizations and like-minded people that we've met globally, it makes it a lot easier, because when we remember McKinsey Adventure, when we remember all other iSafe Kids Africa organizations that are women-led that we've worked with, it gives us that opportunity to say, you know what, and continue moving. You're making that impact because people are watching, they're seeing, and they're always ready to come by when you need them.
And you hit the nail on the head. I believe I was having the same conversation with Lizette a couple of episodes ago. And actually, I just recorded something this morning that says, women of color, we have to constantly work twice as hard just to receive recognition. And it should never be that way. But you said it best, right? How would I not know how to teach kids if I have my own? If I've learned the pathways of how to support kids through my own, which means you're coming in as an expert in relevancy. And I'm going to use the word expert. And I normally don't use the word expert because I always say there's room for all of us to learn. But technically, as mothers, we're experts. We're experts. So I'm going to play a little game with you, Ella, and then I'll ask you two short questions because I know that you have to go. But if you are tuning in right now, don't worry. We're going to bring Ella back. So, Ella, this is going to be the lightning round, okay?
Okay.
So I'm going to ask 4 rapid fire prompts. There'll be about 20 seconds each. And then you can just give like your reflection, okay? Are
Okay.
you ready?
Yes.
All right. One word that captures FlipLearn Kids' mission.
Convenience. Convenience is everything for us, from the way we curate our content, from the way we deliver. Convenience. We want parents to have convenience when they're accessing our program. We want educators to have that convenience where they're working with us, and even kids. So one word for us is convenience. Anytime, any day for us.
All right. The tool or app that you just can't live without.
My goodness.
One, only one.
My goodness. So where do I start in terms of two that we can't do without? Oh my goodness, Canva, anytime, any day when we're designing. So we do game design, we do we do digital design. Canva, I can live with it. From putting together very interactive contents, from creating a collaborative platform for my learners to engage. So Canva is everything for me. I know I've done a couple of educator-led focus training and certification on that platform, but it's like everything. And now with Canva, integration of AI, oh my goodness, what else am I looking for? It's like one-stop place for me.
Yes, it's a one-stop shop. No, I know just a few minutes ago you shared about a recent moment where you were just like, yes, this is a win. But I'm still going to ask this. What is one recent win that just made you smile out loud? It could be something from today or something from weeks ago.
So I know I've mentioned one before that revalidated the essence of what we're doing when we ran a program this year. But another one that made me super happy. So we run this Roblox game design. I know parents have struggled so hard to tell themselves, oh, is Roblox really for my kid? What is the positive angle to Roblox? So we have this parent based in the UK that signed up for our Roblox game design. Oh my goodness. When the class started, I could see the joy on the face of this child, an 8-year-old boy, when the session was going on. And it's like a mother when you've given birth to something and you're seeing, it's like when you see your baby crawl, walk, and now running. my heart was so full because when we first started the class, the mom was struggling to say, are you sure this is going to work for my son? I don't want it to just be a consumer of game. I want him to be able to do something reasonable. When we started, the progress, the way he progressed within the stages, because the Roblox game design, we help kids not just to consume the Roblox technology, but also to be able to design content, create themselves, and become creators and not just consumers. The face, the happiness on that child face was like one aha moment for me until today. It's still very priceless whenever I remember that we're making a difference for kids. And that when we look back, I know kids will remember those things that made them smile and things that made their childhood quite memorable. And that's what I'm super thankful for and happy that it happened via our platform and our program.
Oh, I love that. And my godson Carter, he's always on Roblox. So you and I are going to talk off cam because I would love some one-to-one sessions for him. He's on it from like as soon as he comes after school, he's on it. But he's a kid that he loves to create, he loves to design, and he loves to read. So I think this would be perfect. We'll definitely chat. And
Yeah.
this class. What is one bold axe for leaders who can fund or influence education at scale? Like, what do you think these people who have a ton of money or influence should be able to do?
So for those who have the tons of money, what will they be able to do? They should be able to support organizations who have proven themselves through their activity to be making this impact. I know that most times, if you remember, when we wanted to run the Global Hour of Code that we just finished, very interesting program that we ran, it was tough for us trying to reach out to a whole lot of people who had promised to also be part of it before, even from my own side, saying we're bailing out because of funding. So for me, for organizations to have that capacity, education is one place where you make an impact that has a rippling effect. Because if you train a child today, train a female today, you're actually multiplying the impact. So my take for this organization is you have what it takes to make a difference. The only thing you're looking for is making sure that it's the right fit in the right place. There are a lot of female-led organizations. There are a lot of Black women-owned businesses who are passionate about what they are doing. And one thing for me about this women-led business is that most of the things that we do is from a place of passion. Passion first before you start looking at what's the value to me. Because I've run projects where for us as a business, we're like, let's drive this first. Let's see the impact before we start talking about money. And this organization should be able to see some part of this in terms of what we've done, maybe from our history and through the activities that we've done with organizations to do what? To invest and realize that once you're able to invest in the lives of the future generation, it's going to come back to you a millionfold because, you know, these are kids, these are children whose future is still in the front. We've actually lived half of ours, but we're still supported. So it's just to prevail on this organization to say, you know what, there are a lot of organizations Black-owned colored women who are running businesses, who are trying to make a great impact, pitch the tent with us. Because, you know, when you work with a woman, there's a lot of rippling effect you're going to achieve because they drive nations, they drive community and everything. So that will be my charge and my take.
I love that. And as you were speaking, the first thing that came to my mind was, what's that saying? If you teach me how to fish, I'll eat for a lifetime. Right? The idea
Yeah,
that
it
if you
says,
teach me a skill,
yeah, yeah. It's rather than giving me a fish, just teach me how to fish,
teach me how
and
to fish.
yeah,
Teach me how to do it.
and that's it.
So we're heading to the close, right? And this is a question that I ask everyone because I believe that there's a young girl out there that wants to get into tech or a woman that is in tech but just is trying to find her way. What advice do you give young girls who want to pursue STEM and coding?
So for me, just do it afraid, because you can never find a perfect time. I know that there's this book that I read that always said nice girls don't get the canoraphers, because you always continue just because of the way we were raised. We keep telling ourselves, am I going above the lines of what is tolerable or not? Am I still being feminine? To be feminine doesn't mean to subdue yourself. And to be feminine doesn't mean just take whatever is left for you at the table. Do it afraid first. Then you're going to find the community of people who will support you. Sometimes as females, I also face this a whole lot where you're always second guessing yourself. Am I actually the one doing this? In as much as you've seen how people have also attested to the fact that you've done a good job. But sometimes deep inside you, you keep questioning, second guessing, is it me? Am I going to do it right? You have this fear inside you. So for young girls, I know I've mentored a couple and I've worked with a couple many of times, and we find ourselves struggling at how do we come to realize that we have it all. And I tell them, just do it afraid, because when you don't step out to do anything, you're never going to know how far you're going to make it or not. So just do it regardless of the fear. Someone's out there, the universe, because I always believe that once you have your mind set on something, the universe will actually conspire and bring people within your community that will help you get onto the next level of where you want to go to. So do it afraid.
That's right. And we're stronger together. I've said this on so many of these episodes. We are stronger together, and it's okay to ask for help and it's okay to ask for questions. We all don't know the answers, but I know if I can tap into Ella or I can tap into anyone else in the same section or space, they're willing to help because we've all been at a place before where no one was willing to help. But Ella, thank you so much for sharing about FlipLearn Kids, your story, and just being honest about building an equitable tech learning in Nigeria. For those of you who are in Nigeria and you want to connect with Ella, please do so. Why are you taking so long? And for those of you who are not in Nigeria or even on the continent of Africa, and you're like, I want to partner with this woman, we are going to tag her organization on all of the posts. Please make sure you follow Ella, follow Innovate Her, share the show, and tell us which one of Ella's practices you'll pilot next, right? Because I know she dropped a lot of gems. So keep being bold, keep creating, keep widening the circle to the next generation. And we'll see you next time on Innovate Her. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.